Welcome to my channel. This is lesson 9, and in this lesson, we'll be learning how to import and use Substance Painter, a software that is used for very detailed materials and very high quality details that you won't find in Maya or anywhere else. Now, of course, in order to use Substance Painter, you actually have to have Substance Painter installed. And if I'm not wrong, Substance Painter is a part of the Adobe softwares. Now, if you have this software, it is a complicated software to use, but I will be simplifying it a lot. But if you don't have it, you can always use Autodesk Maya, Arnold, presets, or anything along those lines and use Maya within. Or if anything, if you want any detailed objects, you can always import pictures from Google, like how we did the UV sets in lesson 6. Now, the first thing that we want to do is actually export our model that we want to import into Substance Painter. How we do that is we just select whichever model. We can select our cloth, file, and there is an export selection. Click it and save it wherever you want to save it. Just give it a name, cloth Maya export for Substance, and just export selection. And now we just move on to Substance Painter. Now when you open up Substance Painter, all you have to do is click close, click on file, and click on the new file. Leave that as it is. All you want to select is your file, your resolution, and whether you want to unwrap. So let's go by one. You want to select your FBX file that you exported out of Maya. And the resolution, the higher resolution you want, the higher you can go, the more detailed it is. The only other thing that you need to worry about is auto unwrap or not. Auto unwrap is essentially your UV sets that we did in Maya. When we selected the object and looked at the UV set, it was physically unwrapped like a piece of paper. Now, do you want Maya to do that, or do you want Substance Painter to do that? So if you have a very complicated object like we do, it's a piece of fabric, there's a lot of history and details in it, you would want to unwrap it in Maya, or just leave it in exported object from Maya instead of having Substance Painter auto unwrap it, because auto unwrapping in Substance Painter is for simple objects only. It's better that way. They have their own program with it. But if it's a complicated shape, deselect the auto unwrap and just click OK. Now, once your object is imported into Substance Painter, you can see that it is unwrapped, and it's unwrapped based on the Maya unwrapping system. Now, on your left, you can see a whole bunch of different materials. If you hover over it, you can see the specifications, bakelite material. There's a bunch of fabric stitches, seams, more seams and stitches, gold, metallic. What I like to use in the more realistic materials is, instead of normal materials, I go smart materials. These shows your metallics, leathers. There's even a creature's tongue, metallic, bronze, gold. There's even marble here somewhere. There. So these are the objects that you want to use for very realistic metallic vibes. For fabric, I have one selected. All you have to do is, when you choose your object, hover over it, hold, and drag and drop, and it will automatically import it. Now, when you zoom in, you can actually see that this is how the fabric looks like. And it's the same control navigating around Maya, holding Alt and holding your left mouse, dragging rotates the frame, and holding Alt and holding your scroll button to navigate around. Exact same as Maya. You can zoom in, zoom out. Now, what you want to do is if you have multiple materials that you chose throughout this. So let's say I chose this to try and see how it is, and even this. Now you can see it's only this glass visor right now, but before you export it, there actually shows your whole entire history on what you did. You can even unsee one. So what it's doing is it's layering on top of each other. And you don't want that, because when you export it, it's going to export all of this information, and it's just going to create your file bigger, and it's going to complicate more things. So when you're ready to export it, you want to delete everything here except for the one that you want. What we wanted was fabric synthetic dots, which is this. Let's delete glass visor, woodland, and even layer one. The only thing in your scene is your fabric synthetic dots. Okay. There is even brushes that you can use. It kind of works like a paint. You hover over it and essentially drag. There's even realistic blood that you can use. Look through these, experiment, and see what's there. There's a whole bunch of different textures too. They essentially work as a drag and drop system, or click and paint. Right now, I mainly use smart materials. Now, we have this and we want to export it back into Maya. What we have to do first is actually go to your export settings, texture set settings. These are the things that are going to be exported. These are all the images exporting. Now, if you have any light in the scene, you can actually click plus. And the most important thing is emissive and opacity. Emissive means there's light shining off of the object. So if you have something metallic and a light is shining off of it, or the material itself is the light, you want to click emissive. And opacity is the ability to see through the object, how invisible it is. So if you have like something like glass, you would want to click opacity. So what happens when you click these? Let's click emissive. It just adds the option down here so that when you export it, you can also add this bit of information into Maya. So these are all the things that we have. The only thing that we're going to be using is base color, roughness, and normal. If it's metallic, we would be using metallic, but now it's not. We have everything. We essentially drag and drop. Now file, export textures, and you want to click where you want to have this saved. Now when you're trying to save it, it's best to create a whole new folder for Maya from Substance Painter Fabric. Because there's going to be multiple images and multiple files, you want to have it in one folder. Select folder. Output template, you always want PBR metallic roughness. This is best with your smart materials because most of it is metallic. Size, the higher you do it, the better resolution. Let's click 8195 or 192, and all you have to do is export. And it will slowly export. When it's done, everything is green. Export successfully finished. Now just cancel out of Substance Painter. Just save it before you do. Fabric, Substance Painter. Save. Now let's get out and go back to Maya. Now, once you have your Maya back opened, all you have to do is click on your object. You want to give it a base color, which is your AI standard surface, which is your Arnold standard surface. Go to the information, and now you want the information imported. You have your color, select your color, go to File, and just like how you put in an image, it's the same thing. Click on the file, find your file, and there you go. You would want to click Base Color. Open. And what this is doing is essentially adding each layer of information one by one after one another. Once you have to select it, click this to go back to your original information. you want to go to specular roughness. Same thing, file, open your file, and you want to click roughness, open. For this, you would actually want color space to be utility raw. If this warning pops up, all you have to do is ignore color space file rules. It says it here. Go back and geometry now. Now, what if you have metallic objects or light reflected off? If you have metallic objects, you do the same thing with metalness. You click here, select your file, and go to raw instead of RGB. And for emissive, if there's light, you go to emission. You go to color, do the same thing. And that's it. The last thing that you have to do is geometry bump mapping. Click on the four squares, file. It will open up this menu. It'll open up this menu. Use as, change this to tangent space normals. Go into the information even more, and now you can select your file. And for this, for bump, you would want to click normal. That's what bump essentially means. And click open. For this, you would also want to use utility raw. Okay. Go back. The only thing that should be RGB and not raw is the main base color. Leave this as an RGB. Everything else beyond that point, metalness, roughness, emission, geometry, should be raw. Now, let's see what happens when we render it. Before we do, let's save this scene. Now, when we render it, and that is why we always save, because Maya does seem to crash often. What happens when Maya crashes? All you have to do is open up Maya, the Maya software itself, not the file. Open up Maya itself. Now, if your Maya file happens to crash, instead of opening directly from your original file, they will have a recovered option, and you would actually want to use that. Open that. It carries over the same information from the last point saved. Now, if I'm not wrong, it has the fabric installed. This is your render view. Let's try rendering it. Now, once it's fully rendered, you can actually see that the fabric now has a texture. You can zoom in more. And you can see that the fabric is in fact there. We just have to let it finish rendering to see super clearly. Now that you have it rendered, this is what your fabric looks like. And that is essentially how you import and export out of Substance Painter. And that is how you use Substance Painter to import and export realistic materials and information. For the next lesson, we'll be learning how to start to animate movements and even camera angles. Thank you.